There we go. Hello, my friends. Hello, hello. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope this message finds you healthy, happy, and enjoying. Sorry. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm trying to share this post, and I updated Facebook to this new Facebook page thing, and it's really messed up. I can't do any of the things that I normally would be able to do. So if I want to share this post, I can't share it. I can copy the link. This is so weird. I used to be able to just click the share button and it would work. I don't really understand this new Facebook. Wait, what if I were to go to just Facebook? Oh, but no, it's shared to my Facebook page. That's not what I want. Oh, super interesting. So I have to switch my profile first. Sorry guys, this is my first Facebook Live after upgrading my Facebook page. Okay, and then if I go to my Facebook wall, and then I want to post that, does that work? I'm really curious. Okay, let's see if this works. So I copied the link. Oh, weird. It posted like this Facebook page link to my wall. I don't really understand this. I'm going to have to play with this a bit more. Thank you for joining me while I troubleshoot this. This is really eye-opening for me. A little bit outside of my comfort zone and trying to troubleshoot live. Anyway, friends, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out. My name is Jason, and this is the Outstanding Life Show. If you're new here, we talk about things that are recovery related. We talk about mindfulness. We talk about addiction. We go over these sensitive topics in a very caring way. Like what I mean by caring is it's a very empathetic approach. We take an approach that's inclusive. We have the language. We have these topics arranged in a way that is inclusive, and it's coming from a place of caring and a place of empathy. And what I mean by that is these things can get really out of hand. The topics, the chats, they're never anything easy. If the delicate conversation about addiction and mindfulness is not carried in that caring, empathetic way, that can be very off-putting for a lot of people. It could be the one thing that pushes people over the edge. And by the way, what I mean by the edge is if the conversation was like I don't want to say once in a blue moon, but if that's the one conversation someone's had and it wasn't carried in a way that's, I don't want to say delicate, that message can land with the right person in the wrong way. And so there's a language component. There's something that, and this is tying into today's topic about limiting beliefs. And that limiting belief, that sensitive conversation paired with the limiting belief that someone has can produce results that are not necessarily intended. It can really push things off. It can really send something over to silliness. And what I mean by silliness is it's not something fun. It's not something enjoyable. And shaping the language that we use to ourselves, the way I talk to myself in my own head, the way I phrase things in my own, I don't want to call it my own realm, but if it's something that I'm showing up with, and if I'm showing up to the conversation, and if I've got this angst, or if I've got this anxiety and I've got it built up, and I show up in that conversation and I'm carrying all that weight with me, even though I haven't actually started the conversation, that limiting belief that I'm carrying around can shape that conversation. It can have a role, even though it's not a person or a place or a thing. By me carrying it around, by me like that. You remember that statue with like the guy and he's got like the world on his shoulders and he's carrying it. I'm thinking of the name Atlas, but I don't actually remember. But if I'm carrying the weight on my shoulders and I feel like it's the world, that's gonna bog me down. If that's my perception, like you can hear it in my tone as I'm slouching over. If I'm carrying the weight of this negativity, if I'm carrying the weight of this angst and this anxiety, that limiting belief can translate into actions. It can translate into not just a belief. A limiting belief is something that, and this is, hold on, let's bring up the question. So, what kind of limiting beliefs are out there? And so, when it comes to limiting belief, everything I described up to this point is these actions that can manifest if I'm coming from a place of limiting belief. So if I start with limiting belief and I'm letting that make decisions for me, it can translate into actions. It can translate into these feelings of negativity. So if you're new here, we are talking about recovery. We're talking about mindfulness. We're talking about addiction. We're talking about an approach to a conversation with ourselves and other people. And what I mean by that is limiting beliefs. When it comes to limiting beliefs, I am someone who has definitely held limiting beliefs of my own. I've let limiting beliefs talk me out of doing amazing things. I've let limiting beliefs drag me out. I don't want to say into nothingness, but a limiting belief isn't something that's supportive of me, of my of the kind of life that I'm hoping to live, the outstanding life. A limiting belief is something that can, if I have an idea, a limiting belief will come in and it's like a little scratch. It's like a little, I don't want to call it a ploy, but it's something that can talk me out of this. So if I have an idea, you know what, you don't really need to do that. Or I have a pretty cool thing I want to do, and the little limiting belief will tell me, you can't do that. You're an alcoholic or you're an addict, or these are ideas that can pull me down from a level of, like, if I'm operating at a 10, it can pull me down to a 3. And even though I haven't entered into a conversation, and even though I'm not talking to somebody, that limiting belief can talk me out of it. So when it comes to limiting belief, it's not something that has historically been good for me. There's been times where I've thought about becoming clean and sober. I've thought about changing my lifestyle and adopting this sober life. But I was afraid for the longest time, and I've talked before about this, so this part isn't new, where I was more afraid of what other people would think of me as somebody who's identified themselves as, like, synonymous with alcohol. Like, by I couldn't be that fun person if I didn't have alcohol in my life, or this addict mindset where I needed to have this in order to be a person, and without this, I'm not this person. And so this identity crisis that I found myself in was perpetuated by this limiting belief. And that's an extreme example of a limiting belief where I'm not making a healthy decision because of a limiting belief. I was more afraid of what the other side would look like. And I let that limiting belief literally pull me down and held me captive. And these are very descriptive words, but I'm using that as a way to communicate this there's no good that came from my limiting belief. The next question that we're bringing up is, are there any good limiting beliefs? Can a limiting belief be good for you? And there is, but I would say it that a belief system, a limiting belief, can be coming from a place of safety. It can come from a place of caution. It can come from a place that's not just inclusive, but it does have its merit, yes, but there's also an extreme to it as well. What I mean by this is there's limiting beliefs that are good and that they'll keep us safe. But then there's a limiting belief that will put up walls. And these walls, if left unchecked, they become like super tall and they become super wide until I'm barricading myself in, or I'm no longer safe behind the wall, but now I've become captive behind the wall. And I don't know if you can relate to this, where what seems like a good idea of a limiting belief of, no, I'm okay, I don't need to do that, I'll be safe, I'll be fine, till pretty soon you fast forward a week, a month, a year, or longer, pretty soon this limiting belief is driving my decision making process. So can there be good limiting beliefs? Well, there's good cautions that can come from limiting beliefs. But if I'm making monumental decisions without having checks and balances in place, and one of the true messages of the Outstanding Life show is having checks and balances, being able to appreciate the other side of conversations while keeping our side of the street clean. And if I'm not living my life that's filled with limiting belief, that frees me up to experience life as it's truly meant to be. It's inclusive and it's invigorating. And there's way cooler things out there to, there's amazing friendships and there's amazing relationships. And I'm not just with other people, but I can start to discover myself and find what really recharges my batteries. But I'm not able to do that if I'm being held down by a limiting belief. So if you're new here, we're talking about recovery, we're talking about addiction, we're talking about mindfulness. My name is Jason, and this is the Outstanding Life show. We're talking limiting beliefs today. I don't know if you have any limiting beliefs, but if you do, let me know. What are your thoughts on limiting beliefs? Because right now we have talked about the negative behind a limiting belief, but now let's jump into some more specifics. So when it comes to, can you avoid limiting beliefs? So I've given an example earlier about the extreme where I'm not making healthy decisions because of my limiting belief, perpetuated by my ego and my pride. And so when paired with, limiting belief by itself is not harmful. But in the addict mind and in the alcoholic brain, there's not just a limiting belief. There's also that up and down emotional. There's the ego that lives underneath. There's the pride, the crutch of pride. And these things, when you mix them all up together, and in trying to navigate these other emotions that come from when you don't consume alcohol, and your brain starts to no longer be clouded with anxiety, when it's no longer being clouded by frustration and resentment and these emotions that are underneath, they become like there's like 400 million emotions, and it's very hard to not recognize that part of ourselves. And what I mean by that is when you have two emotions, it's really easy to figure like which emotion is good and which one is bad. But when you no longer are clouded and you're starting to discover all of these other emotions, a limiting belief is easy to adopt because there's not much else that's in there that's recognizable. As I start to map out the rest of the emotions, separating a limiting belief from all these other beliefs, unless we have a standing truth or a moral compass, or unless we start to have support or guidance, and this is the importance of having a support group where, I don't want to say comparing ourselves to others, but hearing others relate to themselves as they share their experiences has helped map my experience hearing how somebody managed their we call it their step 4, where we check ourselves and we have our list of our inequities and we're working on ourselves, and as we make our own progresses and we hear each other, we cheer each other on, and we get to see the success in other people through these support groups, through these meetings, and through those experiences, hearing that, reliving it through them, it helps give us hope. It helps give us that sense of accomplishment. But I'm not able to do that if I'm being held down by limiting beliefs. So I find that I can avoid a limiting belief, but in that early stages of recovery, it's too overwhelming. It's too easy to get caught up. It's too easy to throw myself to the first thing that shows up, and it happens to be a limiting belief. Without having the support, without having guidance, without having a sounding board, I'm I'm pretty sure I'm going to be holding on to a limiting belief. So this is where checks and balances can come in. This is where, yes, there are limiting beliefs out there, but they don't need to be the only thing out there. They don't need to be something that's holding my decision making process captive. And so there's how do you know the belief you're holding is a limiting belief? How do you know that you don't currently have a limiting belief? And this was something that was brought on through one of the groups that I belong to, where the challenge was: is there a limiting belief that you hold? And the language they used was negative self-talk, and that negative self-talk, it's something that everyone has. Everyone has that negative self-talk. But when I really poured down beyond that surface level, I started to recognize some of the synonyms of recovery and addiction. And I was like, this negative self-talk reminds me of a limiting belief. I think in this new what's changed for me over the past 2020 isn't that limiting beliefs exist. They do. They're probably much harder now, more than they were before. But what's changed for me is I've become more, I don't want to call it confident, but I've become more self-aware of what limiting belief, not what it looks like, because I already know what it looks like. I know what the outcome is because I felt the outcome. And I've talked before about not seeing through that fear and not being able to dig deep beyond my resilience. I know what a limiting belief is. I can define it. I've tasted it, and I've held on to it for far too long in my addict, like pre recovery world. But what I'm much more comfortable doing with now is identifying what a limiting belief leads up to, the precursor to a limiting belief. So if there was different stages of a limiting belief, what would that look like? And so in seeing past, in having a checks and balances before pushing through to like a commitment or making something real, I'm able to stop and say, is this, if I play the tape to the end, and we've talked before about playing the tape to the end, but if I'm stopping where I'm at right now, and if I can catch myself, and I don't always do this, and this is what's changed in the last 2020, since 2020, is being able to stop and identify what emotion I'm feeling right now. And if I'm feeling a sense of hesitancy, what part of me is feeling hesitant? If I'm feeling angry, what part of me is feeling angry? If I'm feeling lonely, what part of me is feeling lonely? If I can map that out, if I can get to the raw core emotions and not just the surface level stuff where, yes, I'm upset, or yes, I'm angry. What part of me is feeling angry? If I'm feeling hesitant, what part of me is feeling hesitant? If I'm not keen on something, what part of me is not feeling keen? Is it because I'm not comfortable on camera that I don't go live? or I don't like my audio, so I don't want to make a podcast. Like if these are things that are stopping me, is it what is that core? And when I thought more about my limiting beliefs, when I thought more about it, there's no shortage of a limiting belief. What I've become more proficient in now in the last 12 months is being able to identify the the 13 steps up ahead that eventually become a limiting belief. I'm starting to catch myself on step 7 and step 6 rather than step 19, where I'm like, holy cow, this is something that's driving my decision making process. And this decision making process is a limiting belief. And I can't have that. I don't have the room in my life now. Over the past 12 months, I have cut out a lot of people, places, and things that are not adding value. Limiting beliefs are one of them, but they show up in different ways. They still like like the gopher, like the whack-a-mole, like they still show up. I can't get rid of them. But what I can do is start to recognize the patterns that become a limiting belief. I can recognize the precursor. I can spot the, you know, spot the anxiety or spot the anger and resentment before it becomes anger and resentment. And it's helped me become more, I say more reassured, but it's helped me spot what parts of myself, hey kitty, it's helped me spot what parts of myself are becoming more exposed. And it's helped me become grounded in more of who I am. And that sounds weird to say out loud, but in a world of craziness and silliness, it's really easy to be upset and angry for no reason or for a just reason. But what I don't want to do is let a limiting belief hold me back or stop me. And that sounds silly, I know, but over the past 12 months, a lot has changed, both outside of me and inside of me. I'm still sober, but I'm much more grounded in my sobriety, if that makes sense. I have a more solid foundation now through these exercises, and I consider them exercises. So when it comes to identifying a limiting belief, I can't get rid of them, but I can definitely help map them and then help put steps in place to help remove them, or not remove them, but to like mitigate against them. I don't know if this is something that can speak to you or if it's something you connect with, but if it is, definitely let me know. Okay, my friends, let me go and check out the comments. Oh, look, Jordan is here. Hello, Jordan. How are you, my friend? What's going on? Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Yes, my friend, we are talking limiting beliefs. And my cat is here. Hey, kitty. What's going on? Come here. There we go. Okay. All right, my friends. Okay, we are talking limiting beliefs, and we are talking about leaving limiting beliefs behind. I took this. I don't know if you guys know. Have you guys ever heard of Michael? Is it Michael Hyatt? And he has this book on leadership, and it's amazing. And he has another book on meetings, but I really connected with his idea on a limiting belief, and it was shaking that idea of a limiting belief and replacing it instead with something called the liberating truth. And I'm not doing it just by my try to I'm trying to paraphrase it, but there's like a huge topic he goes into, and it's really amazing. If you have time, go and check it out, Michael Hyatt. But his idea of if I feel the limiting belief creep in, and I just talked about how I identify what a limiting belief is, Michael Hyatt instead he proposes that we bring up a liberating truth, and that so if we have a limiting belief, what is a liberating truth that we can put in place of it? What are some things that I can move away from? So if I have a limiting belief, yes, it's there. But if I have a liberating truth that I can put in place of it, what would that be? So if I start changing the language that I'm using, it can be something that, if I have an example, okay, what did I say earlier? I said, if I'm afraid of, or what is it? I've started cutting my own hair now that 2020 is here. I started cutting my own hair, and I wasn't too comfortable getting on camera after cutting my own hair. I don't know why. I just felt like I'm not that good at cutting my own hair, and I'm not. Uh, I don't know if I have the right tools, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing. But after cutting my own hair, I suddenly didn't want to go live. And so that limiting belief would creep in, and then I wouldn't go live. I would use it as an excuse. It sounds silly. But after going and doing a live or 20, I decided that, you know, a liberating truth, if I were to replace that limiting belief with a liberating truth, it's that at least I'm here. Like I'm here, and I have the ability that I can cut my own hair. I'm not that good at it, but I'm learning and becoming better at it. I've become much more faster at it, that's for sure. The first time I cut my hair, it took like 2 hours. But now I can get it done in like minutes. But my hair grows back. It's something that it's gonna change. It's gonna grow, it's gonna develop. The weather changes every 10 minutes here, so I'm sure my hair will change. It's getting grayer now. I don't know if you can see. I've got gray hair coming in, and I'm more self-conscious about it. And I'm not that good at cutting my own hair. So these are things that can be a limiting belief that would stop me from going live. And so now I use this as a liberating truth. And I go live now despite it all. I'm in becoming more comfortable in my old age, in my getting older in 2021 mindset. I'm like, I'm not really too sure if my community are too concerned with the amount of like gray hair I have, or how short my hair is, or whether or not it looks good. I just have fun. And I remove that now from my limiting belief list. And I move that over to my liberating truth. And I feel more comfortable in my day-to-day, in my everyday interactions. I'm not sure if any of this connects with you. I'm not sure if any of this, talking about cutting my own hair and it's starting to become gray. These things sound silly, but a limiting belief, if left unchecked, it can definitely push my buttons. It can definitely roast my chestnuts. It can really push me out of my game. So if I can replace this negative self-talk, if I can replace this limiting belief with a liberating truth, as Michael Hyatt would suggest, then what else that is impossible won't be impossible. What are some things that I can use to help shift my narrative into something constructive? And this is where I thought, what would be fun? What would be fun is having, hold on. Kid Jordan is here. Kid Jordan has mentioned kitty meow. Yes. My kitty is here. He's sitting in my lap. It's almost dinner time. I think he's hungry. Okay. So once I started to remove some limiting beliefs, here is an idea I had. And the idea I had was, do you love tacos? And if you do you love virtual taco parties? And what I mean by virtual taco parties is I could set up a room, like a Zoom meeting or what have you, and we could all order tacos or make tacos. And then we could just all eat tacos together. We had one last year, and I think it's about time we fired up the Zoom. We dust off the old Zoom, and we have a virtual taco party. Because taco parties are important. Tacos are important. And you, my community, my friends, Jordan, you guys are important. having taco parties, I think, would be an awesome way to start off spring before we roll into summer. And it should be something that we do more often, not like once in a while. I really enjoyed the last one, and I'm hoping you will enjoy taco parties too. But if you do, let me know if taco parties is something you're interested in. It's all virtual, it's all by Zoom. I think it'd be fun. No agenda, just tacos. Okay, my friends. Okay, I'm just checking here for more comments. Kitty, what are you doing? Okay, so for more information, I am working on something as well, and I have this idea about how I want to change up the website. I want to change up the layout, and I'm gearing towards simplifying a lot of different things. And the website, posting, content creation, I think I want to streamline that whole kit and caboodle. And I found a way that I can. And it starts with the website. Okay, Kitty. So if you want to keep up on what's going on, you want to keep up on the progress that I'm working on, visit the link down below, sobriety.live/now. I'm going to have everything documented there. Or if you're on the Twitter machine, go check out Red Skittle Blue. That's where I am online. I'm having fun with this, and I hope you are too, my friends. Okay, so we have talked about limiting beliefs. We have talked about virtual taco parties. We've talked about liberating truths. If this is anything that you found interesting, let me know. I'm having a lot of fun making this content, and I hope you are enjoying it. I've decided to take the audio version of this and turn it into a podcast. And the video version, that's what you guys are watching right now. I'm sending this to both the Facebook and the YouTubes and the Twitch. But I have everything all together. I want to streamline the whole thing, and I have that coming up. It's going to get a little easier to produce this content, so look forward to seeing more of these videos. But if you have ideas, if you have suggestions or topics, I love hearing from you guys. The best way to get a hold of me is over on sobriety.live/now. In the meantime, friends, Jordan, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out. I look forward to seeing you guys in another video. Today we talked about liberating truths, and I look forward to talking to you again. All right, friends. Bye-bye.